and welcome to our latest science adventure with Hear Me Adrenaline. We are playing actually with Hammurabi because this is not just any old map, but rather it is the Age of Abundance, the final Age of Abundance, or rather maybe even the first challenge of the month that Civ 6 Firaxis have given us. It is simply a change of name, which I don't think changes anything more than just like the theme of what was happening and proving that it has been, as it has been for many times before that, a monthly event. Now, we are still on Emperor difficulty, you'll see here. Also, we are on quick game speed, which I don't really know what that refers to. Because like the quickest game speed that I'm normally used to is online. Maybe this is the one above that? Also, there is no max turn limit, so that's a bit odd as well. However, I've been looking to try and find where to settle our first city. I usually like settling on the coast, and lakes aren't really the coast. Especially a two-tile lake, which doesn't actually have any sea resources. I like settling on the coast for a variety of reasons. You get your sea resources, you get the sailing boost, which this would not help you with. Which is quite early and important to try and accelerate through the tree as early as you can, because you're going to be racing against superior, more, luxury-given AI opponents that are just stronger than you, especially in the early game. And, when you're struggling like this to find a good spot, you don't want to take too many turns. It's already turn 3, and I really want to settle as early as possible, especially since science is literally a race and is arguably the most important win con to settle early for. Because with religion, you can probably get that done in about 50 turns, even if you've started late. As long as you have religion, you can work with it. With culture, you do want to get early and to get the wonders, but even then, it depends on the wonders you're going for, it depends on the chops you have, it depends on a whole other bunch of different factors. But science is literally a race. So let's go and try and settle this turn, and I'm going to choose to settle here. There's a few reasons why. It's within 3 tiles of both these truffles and these jade. Yes, it's a city-state, but it's not like necessarily that fast to get to these. It depends who decides to put envoys in this city-state and how early they choose to do so. Since we presumably, as we have the first meet envoy, the only person who knows of Livin, we can simply avoid putting envoys in there ourselves until we make sure that we take advantage of these tiles adjacent to it. We do get a little bit of ear score because it's our first settlement adjacent to a river for additional benefits, including housing, as well as, the watermill and things like that. There are also a bunch of different cool basic resources, bonus resources, that will allow us, certain other boosts like irrigation and masonry and the horse one, which I forget what it's called. Anyway, what will we build to begin with? Well, since we are on one population, we can't really build a settler yet, but we can certainly try building that builder because, as I've said, we have a variety of different things that we want to try and improve, not only for the craftsmanship civic boost for 3 different improvements, but also for those scientific boosts, which as we're accelerating the science tree is going to be quite important. A couple more things I want to touch up on what I was saying. The boosts include, of course, mining, because the amber for the mines will be able to give us, as well as the jade to be fair, an immediate access to the mining boost. So that's also something to remember. So there's 4 different boosts that are an immediate proximity to us, not just the 3. The other thing is, why am I doing this video with the last or first challenge of the month now? It's the science weekend, right? Well, I mean, the WinCon is still the same, but I'm not using this as an actual Age of Abundance challenge of the month slot. The reason is simple. This one is the April, challenge of the month, and that's last month. I'm making this now because hopefully I can tie in the upcoming challenge of the month, what happens after May 14th, which is not quite now, to be able to be done during the month of May so that it's more relevant and you guys can benefit from it more from actually watching it before perhaps the thing is already passed. So I figured put this in the science one, and then 2 weeks down the line, I'm ready to hopefully tackle the actual month's challenge of the month event, and you guys can have a watch. So, back to talking about Hammurabi. Let's have a look at his kit, as we always love to do, and get a good feeling as to how special he is as a leader, and how we're going to be able to make use of him for a science victory in particular. I have always been somewhat dissuaded and concerned to try and use Hammurabi as a science leader specifically. I love him as a culture leader to get a culture victory out of, but science one less so. And the reason why is his kit. Nino Ilu Serum. When each specialty district type except the government plaza is constructed for the first time, receive the lowest production cost building that can currently be constructed in that district. Receive an envoy when any other district is constructed for the first time. Enuma and Anu Onlil. Eurekas provide all the science for technologies, minus 50% science per turn. And there it is. That's the big clincher one. That is the absolute like powerhouse of, and also drawback of Hammurabi, is that you're really desperately looking to do boosts with Hammurabi, which is a fun way of playing the game. And you know, we already have access to all those boosts, as I was mentioning earlier. So we're going to get a lot of really nice boosts to our science tree. However, of course, the caveat for that is the minus 50% science per turn. And so, unless you are aiming to build a good spy network with strong master spies that don't die, that allow you to get a lot of those late game techs in the tech tree, you're going to be struggling quite a bit to complete them, because of course they are the ones that require most science, and you don't have half your science that you've built up. The only way to boost those end game techs is through a spy. So, that's what has always been, you know, concerning me about the idea of using Hammurabi as a science leader. But it's actually not that bad if you get everything in place. Sabun Kitibum. Sabun Kibitum. Yes. I butchered that one. I apologize. Babylonian unique ancient era melee unit, plus 17, which is such a strange number. Combat strength against heavy and light cavalry, promotion class units. So specifically have to be promoted. Or is it the promotion just throwing me off? This unit has free movement and sight, which is very nice. Free sight like the settlers, free movement like other specialist units like those Nubian archers. That is quite cool to have. And it's a good scout, I guess. Palgium, or Palgum. Palgum. I always thought there was an I there. Palgum. Or Palgum. I don't know. A building unique to Babylon, +1 housing and +2 production. Freshwater tiles receive +1 food. City must be adjacent to a river, because of course this replaces the watermill. Their watermill is a specialist watermill. But as you may have noticed, we did choose to build our first city adjacent to a river, so we'll be gaining access to this Palgum and the era score that comes with it, as and when we need it. Alright, so it's turn 25, and we're going to take our look at our Pantheon. And amazingly enough, religious settlements on turn 25 is still available, and so of course, that's what we're going to take. When chosen, receive a settler at your capital. Border expansion rate is 15% faster. Now, the border expansion rate isn't too bad either, because as I was saying earlier, I would really like access to these truffles and these jade, and this will help potentially make it either cheaper or at least quicker to get to them. So I'm looking forward to that as well. We get our boost for mysticism, and we have our settler, which we're immediately going to settle right down here, because this is a good distance away from our capital. It's on the coast, unlike the capital, which I would have liked, but I didn't realize that this was going to be the geographical setting that we had, and all I needed to do was go down south, but that would have still taken a number of turns, and I needed to have had the clairvoyance to see it anyway. But also, if you have a look here, we have 2 mountains and a geothermal fissure for an at least +4, and with a couple of districts +5 campus, which is absolutely what we're looking for at every possible opportunity in any science game. And on the other side, we have a +5 harbor, because we have adjacency to the city center, and we have 3 sea resources. So really nice production and food coming from the hub of the adjacencies. Really nice science coming from the adjacencies of the campus. So a really promising city location for anyone and everyone to take advantage of right here. Alright, well, we are moving on in the game. We're now turn 75. We've met a couple of our neighbors. They don't really like us, though. It's kind of unfortunate. Peter is kind of an obnoxious neighbor for the most part. He's always causing issues. And one of the reasons why, of course, is his agenda wants me to have superior science and culture when they are given so much of an advantage and additional yields as AI. It's very unlikely that you're going to be able to do it. So if you're going to be able to befriend him, you have to do it very early. If you don't, you end up with this sort of nonsense, and he doesn't like you for not having enough science and culture. But that's one thing. We've also made a number of cities. You know, we're really starting to understand the lay of the land, which is good. We've met some other city-states, Bologna, Venice, you know. We have quite a bit of land to try and check down south and hopefully make more advantage of. We already have plans for certain cities like this one. So here we are, almost 100 turns have passed, and we're about to get ourselves a golden age. Watch that we have 1 turn remaining to do it. We're on 58 points. We need 1 more era score to be able to generate that golden age, and we can get that by getting 1 era score for each triggered eureka, and one of those eurekas is to build a lumber mill for, of course, the shipyards tech. What the shipyards tech is called, I can't remember for the moment, but it's the shipyard tech. That's how I like to call about it, because that's the biggest part about it. That's the important thing that you gain from it. Mass production. There you go. There it is, the +1 era score is attained.
People can have the Model T in any color, so long as it's black.
This amazing shipyard, man. This is probably my favorite building. If I did a tier list on buildings, shipyard would almost certainly be right at the top. It's just insane how you can generate up to like 10, maybe even more production off this thing. Let alone the food, let alone everything else. It's just ridiculous, especially when you have like double the harbor adjacencies. It works really well as a policy card with this thing. It's kind of nuts. It makes a huge difference to any sort of production-based game that you really want to focus on production for, especially when you have a lot of coastal cities, and we have a fair number of them. Welcome back. It's turn 141, mid-game here, and we've used our last golden age in order to get 10 whole cities from Tuttle all the way down to Borsippa. And there was some barbarian pressure here, but with the help of Scotland, we were able to clear it out and be okay, and then now be able to grow our cities pretty nicely. We also made the best campus ever. Certainly better than the holy site, because you actually want to be able to access your holy sites, whereas campus, there's no units coming out of it. And it's surrounded by mountains the whole way through, the ring of science. I don't know, pretty cool. Speaking of rings and spherical objects, we have this Eye of Sahara. We're hopefully making more adjacency boosts with our holy sites, and eventually we'll take advantage of the science and the industrial, the production that comes with it. This is honestly, arguably, one of my favorite wonders. At least, it's one of the wonders I'd put at top for like most maligned and most underrated wonders. Because, you know, it's exactly what I want. It's a triad, so it gives perfect adjacencies for potentially 3 cities. It also provides you with nice yields on the wonder itself. I really like Sahara, and I love how it often is in like desert area, but not too much desert, so that you still have enough Greenland to grow your cities around it. So that's always a beneficial plus. It's much worse when it's in an ocean of desert and you can't really settle there. Getting into the thick of it, and if you notice, we're already 170 turns in. This has definitely been different to your classic online speed game, because it's at this point that I would be expecting to finish the game. Like, this would be the last turn. This would be the, you know, overall conclusion, part 10, final thoughts part. But instead, we are still in the thick of it with making a whole bunch of spaceports. Our quickest one is probably going to be the capital. It's probably going to be where we're going to eventually fit Pingala. Currently been in Borsippa for loyalty issues, but we'll be moving back to Babylon soon enough so that we can get on with the other projects and have his boost get even quicker. We also are building our spy network. It's very important that we build our spy network because we are going to be heading into those in the next couple of eras, those kind of techs, and as you can see, there's quite a few of them. These are probably where the off-world missions are going to be. We're going to want that to get the boosts and get them immediately into play. We've also built Mausoleum Halicarnassus, which again, 170 turns in, or maybe it was 160 or something like that. Kind of late, to be honest. We can look over here and see when in fact we did do that. Mausoleum of Halicarnassus on turn 157. I mean, that's insanely late for an online speed game. You're probably not going to get... And Mausoleum, for some reason, is one of the freest wonders to get a lot of the time, but usually will go away by that point anyway in an online speed game. But it's going to be very crucial, of course, because we're going to want to get those great engineers eventually. They're going to be more to do with space race and production towards that. We're going to want that extra boosts from the Mausoleum. Come up to the last moments of the game, and we just managed to hit our second golden age. Woo! And hopefully it will be a good one. Though we're only in the modern era, so I'm not entirely sure what goodies will be available for us going forward. Let's have a look at the history timeline and see how that was achieved, shall we? So as per usual, you often fluctuate between either near Goldens or Goldens and potential Dark Ages. So we just managed to avoid a Dark Age starting this era. We then found the incredibly hard to pronounce Eyjafjallajökull, Icelandic natural wonder, I think. And then we had a great person in James Watt. We had surging machinery, which means generating power for cities, consumes a resource. More great people, the first neighborhood district, the new technology, of course, along with potentially the new civic for the era, for each of what you're doing, rather than necessarily how the game is going. Like, you could be several eras behind, but if it's the first of your new era, then you still get a point. Civilization discovers more natural wonders, liberating and suzeraning Auckland, which is helpful for production, especially in coastal tiles. Spy promotions, as I've been saying, is very crucial for this game. Even more districts of a commercial hub, adjacency 4 or higher. More... this is the civic equivalent of the tech era research that we did earlier. The what is good of NIDR, getting different units and all that. Getting a new government, finally into communism for the science boost, which is a huge part of any science race. Discovering nuclear fusion, which is yet another new era, but again, that's probably because of the boosts from the spies. This is one of those spies, the second spy reaching a promotion level to Master Spy. He's also given an era score of or less. Another reclaim of a suzerain on the city-state. To Kamasi. More great people. That's not actually relevant to our era score. And then more great people and trying to get satellite into orbit. So you can see that science game, especially as you get closer to the science race, offers a lot of various ways to generate your score, as well as the spies, as well as certain things that, hopefully synergize with getting maybe Sky and Stars or even Bodyguard of Lies to make that final push. And so here we are, almost 230 turns later. It certainly was a very different game to what I'm usually expecting and usually do. Like, normally in most of my science game videos, you'll see me beat the game about 160, 170 turns on average. Another 60 odd turns because
the situation was very different. Like the game speed was very different. It also was a game with only 6 people, which I only came to realize later on. Of course, the spies very much helped. Also, if you have a look, the science was never that high either. Normally in a science game for me, I like getting like double that, if not triple that. Like, I've been up to 700 science by the end of the game. This is lesson 2. So, even though we were able to accelerate our way and get enough promotions and spies and boosts for a bunch of these attacks to be able to get through the tree as quickly as we did, comparatively speaking, it was still quite the ordeal and challenge to get over the line. I mean, we only had a few cities for like the first 50, 60 turns as well. We were like starting here and we made this city and so on. And then once we get that golden age in about like turn 100 where we're able to actually push on and make up to 10 cities and so. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. And please don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Maybe leave a comment below. And I look forward to seeing you again.
Much as our ancestors did ages ago, we thrust forward into the unknown. The first pioneers set forth on an uneasy course. And yet once again did our people thrive. Now, under your leadership, we plot a new course and make another world our own.